I guess I'll just start by saying a little bit about myself. Um, let's see. I just upped the volume, like as if that was going to make me louder. Um, my name's Ephie Aardema. I am an actor. Oh, hi! Yay! Now I can see comments. Awesome. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties. We tried scheduling this, and anyway, we're here now. So, my name's Ephie. I'm a professional actor. I mainly do theater. I have done Broadway, off Broadway. Hi! I've done Broadway, off Broadway, national tours, regional theater, some TV. Um, yeah, I write songs. So, uh, I've done a lot of different sort of things, and I'm here to answer any questions you have about anything. Um, yeah, I'm excited to just like spend some time with you guys. I live right outside of New York City. I live in Jersey City, which is sometimes considered another borough. Um, we are right across the Hudson River from downtown Manhattan. So if I walk a block that way, I can see the World Trade Center. Um, let's see. What am I doing? What do I do? I uh, was doing Emma at Chicago Shakespeare Theater when all of the quarantines started. So I was in the middle of doing a show, and then we found out that we weren't doing the show anymore. So now I am in my home and not doing that right now, but someday will again. I was on the national tour of Waitress before I went to Chicago Shakespeare. I did 7 months on the first national tour of Waitress as Dawn. I was in the original Broadway company of the Bridges in Madison County. Did a show off Broadway called Songbird. And I also was Ty in the Clueless musical that was off Broadway as well. I started out doing theater as a kid, just like the kids that go to Fantasy Playhouse Children's Theater and take classes. And I grew up in Orlando. I have never worked at Disney as an adult, but I did as a kid. I was a national anthem singer for Disney's Wide World of Sports. So I have a real affinity for that. Let's see. Oh, cool. I can scroll. All right. How many auditions did you attend before you got cast on Broadway? Oh, that was actually a crazy story. So I was doing a musical in Connecticut called Snapshots at the Goodspeed Opera House, and I got an audition appointment at 5 p.m. for the next morning at 10 a.m. back in New York City for the Bridges of Madison County. And I didn't know anything about it, but I had to go in and do these sides the next morning, and I had a show that night. So I like ran out. I got someone to give me a ride to Barnes and Noble. I got a copy of the book Bridges of Madison County, and I don't know why I decided to like give myself that much homework when it was like the night before, but I was driven. So I read the book of the Bridges of Madison County, and I learned the song for the daughter and the song for the ensemble sides and the daughter scene in one night while I was also doing my own show in Connecticut. So I would like come off stage from, you really shouldn't do this, but I would come off stage from scenes and like be running lines and music in between the scenes of my other show. And luckily our music director for the show in Connecticut like helped me learn the music, and I didn't have a car in Connecticut. So my mom drove from New Jersey to Connecticut then the next morning, like so early in the morning at like 5 a.m. to pick me up, to drive me back into Manhattan for my audition. And I went in, I did all the material, I left the room, and I guess it was far in their process. Like they really just hadn't found someone, but it was towards the end because everyone was there. It was like 20 people in the room. It was like Jason Robert Brown and Bart Scher and Marsha Norman and the entire team and all the producers were already there, and it was my first time in the room. And they were filming it, and I literally walked out and started crying because I just had this, I just knew, I like just knew that I had gotten it. And so, and they didn't say that. I just had like an instinct about it. And I was going to the train station. I was in, which train station? I was in Grand Central, and I was in Penn Station getting a train back to Connecticut because I had another show that day. And I got a call from my agents saying, "Can you come back tomorrow? Because there are some producers who weren't there today and they need to see you one more time." And they said to just do exactly the same thing that you did. So I had to take a train back to Connecticut, do my show, and then my mom had to come and drive and get me again, take me back to New York. So I go back to New York and I do all the same things again, but I get so nervous because they gave me the sides for this other character that doesn't exist in the show anymore, not really, who was like kind of ultra sexual and flirtatious. And at the time I was like 22 and very like innocent, and it made me so nervous. So I was freaking out. And then they asked me to sing a higher harmony part of the ensemble sides, and that was freaking me out. So I literally threw up in my mouth and swallowed it and had to sit down and did part of the song sitting down. I was absolutely like terrified, and and walked out. And then I got a call like the next day saying that I had gotten it. So I went in twice is the short answer to that question. But I love telling that story because honestly, like the second time that I went in, I literally threw up and swallowed it. It was like horrible. But it worked out. So it just like goes to show that you can have these experiences, and it can turn out okay. And sometimes you're just what they want and it doesn't matter. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, there's so many. This is really cool. Oh, Waitress is right. Oh, wait. Oh crap. What did I do? Now I can't see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Did you go to college? Where? I went to Circle in the Square Theater School, which is a 2-year conservatory program. At the time, it was a certificate program, and now they have a bridge program where you can get your bachelor's. Also, I loved going there. It's been a while. I graduated in 2009, but when I went there, I just absolutely loved it. It was exactly what I needed and what I wanted. Is there anything you would tell high schoolers to start doing to help them prepare for a career as a performer? Oh, I wish I'd read more plays and started taking dance, even though I thought it was too late to start dancing. Well, I don't think it's ever too late to start dancing. I think that any way that you can start moving your body is great. What do I think high schoolers should do to prepare them for a career as a performer? Wow, if you really want to be a performer, then you know in your heart of hearts that that's what you're meant to be doing. I would say start embracing your quirks, and they're gonna change, because you're not done growing, and we never really are. So but I do think it's important to start getting used to having some self-reflection and loving and embracing what makes you unconventional and a little different, and those are the things that might make you uncomfortable and feel like you're not good enough, or not pretty enough, or not small enough, or not sexy enough, um, or not smart enough, or whatever those things are. Usually those are actually your superpowers and are actually what will make you an invaluable member of the theater community, and or like too plain or too whatever, like whatever those things are. Usually when you're picking on yourself about the one thing and you think that that's like the bad thing about you, it's usually actually the great thing about you. My favorite person who lives by this is Caitlin Houlihan, who was also a Dawn, and she always says, work your quirks. And I see her living that truth because she is so quirky. I don't know anybody like her. And she works all the time, and she always has these really like dynamic and interesting parts. And she's just always just a little entirely herself. So yeah, start embracing what makes you you, like truly what makes you you. Um, and know that we all tend to pick on ourselves. And so it's like good to just keep that in mind so that when you do hear that voice, because it will come, to be like, huh, why am I turned off by this thing that I'm picking on myself for? That's interesting. And just like get curious. Um, so did you have an agent that submitted you for Bridges? Yeah, I've had an agent. I didn't have an agent my first 5 years in New York. I came to New York, went to Circle in the Square, did not get an agent from our agency showcase, and was like, that was not fun. I felt like, what's wrong with me? Why don't they want me? So I went to open calls. I got my equity card using the EMC candidate program. And I did the national tour of Fiddler on the Roof and the national tour of The Sound of Music during that time and booked both of them from open calls. And I have a friend also, his name's Brandon Ellis, who booked once on Broadway from an open call. So you can do this without an agent. It is harder. But I'm kind of glad that I did it that way because I feel like I gained like a wealth of like emotional, like what's the right word? Um, like emotional wisdom by working my way up over time and not having everything just handed to me right away. So everyone has their own journey though. How many songs should you have prepared? I haven't been asked to do a monologue ever since um, I had an agent. But if you're going to open calls, a lot of, for plays and stuff, like they'll ask you for a monologue. So it's good to have a classical, like a Shakespeare monologue. If you're interested in doing Shakespeare, I would probably work on a couple different Shakespeare monologues and start thinking about the roles that you really want to play that really speak to you and learn those roles. If you are not as much on Shakespeare, then I think it's good to have comedic and dramatic contemporary monologues and comedic and dramatic classical or like older monologues and just have those at your ready. But that's really just for people who are interested in doing plays. If you don't think that's you, then you're not going to get asked to do monologues a lot. Songs, I have a huge book of songs now, but that's because I've been acting for almost 20 years now. I mean, since I was a little kid. And so over the years, you just kind of collect them. You see a song, it speaks to you, whatever. In college, we had a guy come to our class who was kind of a expert song picker, and he met with us, talked to us, heard us sing, and then like gave us like 10 songs each. And that was awesome. And I still use like 3 of those. I would say, how many songs should you have? I would say like you should start by finding a song in each genre that you would like to work in, and learn a song for each genre. And I would say focus on songs where the lyrics are meaningful to you, but can also apply to many situations, because then you can, like, if you have a couple of different songs that are meaningful but like just vague enough, like you can then pretend that you're the character that you're auditioning as singing that song, which can, I think that's kind of powerful in a room, when the person sings a song and you're like that could be from our show, like if people go, what is that from? Because they are like, you are singing a song as the character that you're auditioning for. I think that's very powerful when that happens. But I often, when I was like growing up doing theater, would learn a song for an audition. If I was auditioning for a role and I went, oh, what would be perfect for that character would be this song, I would then like take the time to learn that song. And then I would have that song, put it in my book for later. Oh, my sister went to Circle. Cool. Um, let's see. I love Caitlin so much. Oh, it's Abby. Hey. Um, what are your favorite moments from being in Waitress, either on stage or behind the scenes? Uh, oh gosh, I loved being in Waitress. I'm gonna get emotional. I loved singing "Soft Place to Land" every night. I mean, when we were about to close, the first national tour had to close because they were going non-union. So the tour of Waitress is still out there, but it's non-equity. And once they opened it non-equity, you can't use any of the equity actors. So we had to close our tour in Toronto, and then they recast with only non-union actors, and then sent the tour back out. And the reason that they do that is so that they can save money, and also because then they can have like one-nighters, which is where you like fly into a city, do a show for one night, and fly into another city. And you can't really do that with a union contract, because our what the union does is they protect us from being abused, basically, and they give us certain rights and certain protections to help us be able to have like a more comfortable or more normal career. Like imagine if you had kids, like you wouldn't be able to go out on a one-nighter tour, like you just wouldn't be able to. So it's that sort of thing. So anyway, that's why we had to close. And as we were closing, singing "Soft Place to Land" for like the last few weeks, it was like almost impossible to get through without tearing up. I actually was just singing it earlier today. I was like learning it on my guitar. I love that song, and I love Christine Dwyer, who was my Jenna. We were so close, and I love all the women that I got to meet and got to play with. All the other waitresses and the understudies were outstanding. So yeah, Soft Place was definitely my favorite. What have been your most mentally or physically challenging roles? Probably doing Songbird. Songbird is a musical that's based on Chekhov's The Seagull, and it's set in Nashville, and it's contemporary. And instead of all of the characters being playwrights and actors, they're musicians in the country music scene, and all of us played our own instruments. And as far as musicianship goes, like I was probably one of like the most beginner, or the closest to beginner from everybody, and so I had to like really hustle to keep up. And I learned so much, but that on top of like just the emotional journey, I played the Nina character, and so the emotional roller coaster of the tragedy of that character was definitely challenging. Who did you play in Sound of Music? I played Liesel. I love Waitress. Did you have a favorite scene or something? Oh, I said that one. And health insurance. The union makes sure you have travel expenses, etc. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of my favorite jobs. How do you get an agent? Okay. I sent out so many letters with headshots and invitations to agents to try to get them to come to see me in shows, and it never worked for me. That never once happened. I never heard anything back from any of them. And I think a lot of people get their agents one of two ways. The majority of people get their agents one or two ways. And I think the first way is through showcases, where agents do scout college showcases or professional showcases. And then the other way that it happens is word of mouth, or if you give a really like spectacular performance and an agency happens to see it and then they ask around and they know that you don't have representation, they will reach out to you. Or if you're in a show, you don't have an agent, you know your friend's agent is coming to see them, you can tell your friend like, I don't have an agent, so if your agents like me, will you tell them I'm not represented? And then that sort of can just like happen. For me, it was so organic, and it just sort of happened. It was when I was doing the Sound of Music tour. Um, the man playing Captain Von Trapp and a woman who was in our ensemble, both of them knew that I didn't have an agent, and they both, out of the kindness of their own hearts and their just general interest in me, for whatever reason, reached out to their agents and said, there's a girl on our tour who doesn't have an agent and you might want to represent her. They told me that they had reached out to their agents, and these two individuals connected me with their agents, and I met with both offices when I got back from tour. And I picked the one that I liked the best. And that was really an empowering and amazing moment, because I had spent 5 years with nobody interested in me at all, and then all of a sudden I got to choose. So that was cool. Let's see. What else? If you're going to give, oh no, yeah, if you're going to give high school, if you're going to give your high schoolers your one piece of advice about life, the business, etc., what would it be? Life, business, etc. I would say that right now, my one piece of advice, biggest piece of advice, would be your own advocate. You should invest time and attention into what you are saying to yourself in the privacy of your own head. You should invest time and attention into really observing where you're spending your time, who you're talking to the most, and whose opinions you value, and start really, really listening to your instincts and your better instincts, and your the instincts where you go, I know that that's bad for me. The voice in your head that goes, I know that I want this thing, is one instinct, and then there's another instinct that goes, no, that would be really bad for you. And I think it's worth it to start trying to discern which one of those two voices is like your advocate voice, like the voice inside of you that wants the best for you. um Become friends with yourself, be your own best friend. If you're your own best friend, you will only invite, not only, everybody, it's a roller coaster, life is like whatever, it's crazy, but you will start to invite more people into your life who can be good to you, and more events in your life that are good for you, because that stuff will happen naturally because you're doing the work here. Be your best friend. Yeah. um Clara, 7 years old, wants to know what your favorite roles were when you were her age. Okay, this is the last question because I think it's like almost 2:30, and I think I'm not supposed to go past 30 minutes. But Clara, 7 years old, wants to know. Well, I started acting when I was 10, so I was a little bit older than you, Clara. But gosh, I really wanted to play Mary Lennox, and I never did. But that was one of my favorite roles that I always wanted to do. I played Annie twice. That's how I got into theater in the first place. The first time was a community theater, and I just completely fell in love with theater. Um, The Secret Garden. Yeah, I always wanted to do that. And I always wanted to do The Miracle Worker. 7 years old. Oh gosh, what a great age. And you got so many good roles in front of you. Yeah, I would look at The Miracle Worker and I'd look at Secret Garden. Yeah. So it's oh, there's a little timer, 25. Okay. I think I'm gonna end this by just playing a little bit of Soft Place to Land, since I was just talking about it. Just to say goodbye and to say thank you for having me. I'm still learning it, so, no judgments. Hopefully you can still see me right now. Okay. Sometimes I still see her, my mother, the dreamer. She'd say nothing's impossible, child. A dream needs believing to taste like the real thing, like some stranger you recognize. So pure, so electric, so sure, so connected to those little believers inside. May we all be so lucky. Our dreams are elusive, the kind we've gotten used to is nothing I can feel, nothing that I know. Dreams come and they go, but hold them and keep them, and know that you need them when you're breaking points, all that you have. A dream is a soft place to land. May we all be so lucky. Harmonizing with you, I love that. All right, I'm sending lots of love to you guys. Theater people are the best, so hold each other close in your hearts and keep singing songs and hugging you all. Bye.